Welcome to another telecast of Revive America. I'm Eddie Hyatt, and I'm so glad you've joined us today. We have a special Christmas program for you. I hope you're going to stay tuned. It's going to be a great blessing to you. I'm joined in the studio today with some visitors that some of you will recognize. On my left is my sister-in-law, Betty Hyatt, and a little further over is my brother, Pete Hyatt. They live in Powderly, Texas. And they're going to be with us today, and we're going to dedicate this program to our parents, Clarence and Pearl Hyatt. Now, some of you will know them and remember them from Shakota, and they pastored the Assembly of God Church in Shakota for 27 years. And we just wanted to honor them, acknowledge them, and do this program in their honor today. And there you see a picture on the screen. That's a picture. Pete, did you say that was made in Carruthers, California? Or
I think so.
Yeah, so that would have been back when I was about probably 4 years old, and maybe you about 11, something like that, you think? I suspect, because I think we went to California when I was about 4.
I was either 12 or 13 there, that 1952 or 1953, somewhere along there.
We weren't from California. We're from Texas and Oklahoma, but we went to California like a lot of people from Texas and Oklahoma were doing in the 1950s. It was, I guess, considered the land of opportunity at that time. Now they're all leaving, wanting to come back. But anyway, we're doing this in honor and dedication of them, and we're going to start out with a song. Pete, let's do Precious Memories.
Precious memories, unseen angels sent from somewhere to my soul. How they linger ever near me, and the sacred past unfolds. Precious memories, how they linger, how they ever flood my soul. In the stillness of the midnight, precious sacred scenes unfold. Precious Father, loving Mother, fly across the lonely years, and old home sing of my childhood in fond memory appear. Precious memories, how they linger, how they ever flood my soul. In the stillness of the midnight, precious sacred scenes unfold.
We were looking at that older picture there that Pete, you said was from California. And I think we went to California, about 1953?
No, 1950.
1950? Okay.
We left in 1953 and got back to Texas as quick as we could.
But I remember when we were coming back, we spent about, I think, 3 years in California, and then had a little bit of a time, went up in Oregon and Washington. But I remember coming back, you probably remember what kind of car we had, but I was 7.
1949 Hudson.
49 Hudson, and we had a trailer with, I guess, some basic furniture in it. And we put the mattresses on top and then a tarp over that. And so what we would do, coming all the way from Washington to back to Texas, Oklahoma, that was a long drive back then because they didn't have interstates. But Mother and Daddy fixed the beds up. Now there were 4 of us boys, and they fixed the beds up. Now you can tell me, you may remember details I don't, but they fixed the beds up, mattresses up on top, so that at night when we was ready to stop for the night, we just pull over by the side of the road. And Mother and Daddy and Bev, I was the youngest and Bev was next to me, would sleep up on top of the trailer on the mattresses, and you and Harvey would sleep in the car. Right. And but anyway, I remember one night, I don't know when it was, but it was a clear night and there was a full moon, and Daddy forgot where he was, and he kind of woke up in the middle of the night and he's still half asleep, but you know, the bright moon was on, and he said out loud, "Somebody left the light on."
Yes, I remember that.
Oh, praise the Lord. Now, I know you said his favorite song, he often asks you to sing "Once Upon a Hill." You want to do that one?
Yeah, I'll try to do that.
Oh, T&G.
Somebody wrote my life story, though the ink never touched the writer's quill. Now in heaven I'll live happy ever after, 'cause my life story started once upon a hill. Once upon a hill is all it took. From sin and shame my heart's been changed, my life's an open book. It's never been mystery how the fiction became real, 'cause my life story started once upon a hill. I've never laid eyes upon the author, but it's clear to see he's laid his hand on me. My life story may not be the world's bestseller, but they won't have to read between the lines to see. Once upon a hill is all it took. From sin and shame my heart's been changed, my life's an open book. It's never been a mystery how the fiction became real, 'cause my life story started once upon a hill.
Oh, good one. I can understand why Daddy liked that song, because he is very aware that his story started
Yes.
on the hill. Of course, talking about the hill of Calvary. Hallelujah. Yes. Praise the Lord.
Yeah, when he requested that song, he always said, "Sing my life story." So.
Yeah, praise the Lord. You know, and you all feel free to say anything you want to come in here. And as we said earlier, if you just joined us, we're dedicating this program to our parents, Clarence and Pearl Hyatt, pastor of the church Assembly of God out at Shakota for 27 years. And some of you remember them, and if you want to share any memories you have, send us an email, or you can go to my Facebook. There you see the things there on Facebook. And tell us that you've enjoyed this program. Tell us any memories you have of Clarence and Pearl Hyatt, and maybe you were a part of the church at Shakota back when they were there. Hey, we would love to hear from you. We were singing that old song, Precious Memories, and there are precious memories that God gives us along the way. Thank you, Lord.
You know, Eddie, this is kind of going ahead of it, but when we had Papa's funeral, I felt really impressed, I guess you'd say, to speak up during the funeral. I don't ever do that, but I felt impressed. You know, Papa was always a peacemaker. It seems like he was always making peace no matter what. You know,
right.
I mean, and at one time he was doing a subject on the Beatitudes. And the one thing that stood out to me that applied to Papa was that he was a peacemaker, and it says, "Blessed are the peacemakers, for they shall inherit the earth." And if I'm wrong, so you can tell me, but
No, that's
I think
true.
that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
But anyway, that's the way I think of Papa.
Right. I remember somebody saying, because my understanding is, because I think we were in Canada maybe at the time, but after he left the church after 27 years, the church had a big blow up of some sort. But I remember somebody saying that all the time he was there, said the biggest problem we ever had, there was a young lady who was there, she got upset at something, and she said that he said, "Now we're not going to have any of that." She said, "That's the only problem we ever had in 27 years. But then it was after he retired.
Yeah.
So anyway, yes, blessed are the peacemakers. So yeah, Daddy was a peacemaker. He had a way of making peace.
Yeah, and Daddy was the type of man that he didn't say "I love you" a whole lot, but you knew without a doubt that he did.
Yeah.
And I remember once when I was a teenager, I think I was about 16 or 17 years old, and I wanted to borrow the car, wanted to go down and drive up and down the street in Tipton, Oklahoma. And I said, "Daddy, I need some money for gas." And of course, Daddy was working every day. And he took his lunch, but he tried to keep a little bit of money, to buy something if he needed it.
Right.
And he pulled out his billfold, and he gave me his last dollar. He gave me his last dollar out of his billfold so that I could go up and run up and down the street.
Yeah.
So that was another way I knew that he loved me
Yeah.
with all of his heart.
Yeah. Yeah. Praise the Lord. And that's what God did for us too. He gave us his all.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
That's what Christmas is about. God giving us his all.
Yes.
Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Well, God is so good. Well, is there a song there on the list that would work in well at this time? Praise the Lord.
I'm having the time of my life.
Yeah, you want to do that one, or you got another one there? Whatever you think there, Pete. We got a whole list of songs here in front of us we're looking at.
Well, I guess we could sing "He's Having the Time of My Life." This reminds me of Wilbert Johns. I worked for Wilbert in Dallas, Texas, and I thought he was the meanest guy.
He was
I'd
from
ever
around
seen.
Chicago too, and
Right,
kind
he
of
was
a
from
distant
Chicago.
relative.
Right. And never in a million years did I think that Wilbert would ever be saved, but he was saved there in the church at Shakota, and he became a completely different man. He was meek and mild where he had been mean before and an alcoholic. And this song reminded me of him. After the Lord turned everything around, then the Lord was having the time of Wilbert's life.
Right.
Wilbert was giving him all the time instead of the bottle. So I told Wilbert one time, I said, "This is your song." Well, he put my life back together. I turned it all over to Christ. Now things couldn't get any better. He's having the time of my life. Yes, he's having the time of my life, and I'm loving him all of the time. He gave me happiness, he took the stripe, and now he's having the time of my life. Well, I feel like I'm walking in tall cotton, and I'm on top of the world, flying high. 'Cause he picked me up off of the bottom, and now he's having the time of my life. Yes, he's having the time of my life, and I'm loving him all of the time. He gave me happiness, he took the stripes, now he's having the time of my life.
And I remember you talking about, now, Daddy and Wilbert would have known each other since they were probably kids, but after Wilbert moved back to Chakotah, and Daddy invited him to church maybe more than once, and Wilbert got mad and cussed at him and said, I'll come when I'm good and ready.
Yes.
And so Daddy said he talked to the Lord about it and said, the Lord said, just leave him with me, I'll get him.
Yeah, Daddy.
And his daughter-in-law, I mean, his granddaughter told you what happened after
Yes.
that. He apparently got very sick and his body was swelling and he was in such intense pain. What was it she told you?
He was in such pain that she said that she was just a kid, but she remembered him laying there praying and saying, God, if you'll just heal me and take away this pain, I'll live for you. And he did.
But anyway, I thought it was interesting. Daddy said, the Lord told him, said, just leave it with me, I'll get him.
Right. Daddy said he was heartbroken because Wilbert cursed at him and told him, I'll come church when I get ready. And he said he was talking to the Lord and said, God, you heard what Wilbert said, what do I do now? And he said, just leave him alone, I'll get him.
So God knows how to to get people. Oh, praise the Lord. You know, I was one thing I wanted to mention that I remember stands out in my mind. This was probably about 1969. I just gotten out of the Army and had returned home, and hadn't yet rededicated my life to the Lord. And but I'd come home and I was staying there with Mother and Daddy there at Chakotah. And it was probably about 10 o'clock. I'd probably been up in Paris town somewhere, and I was coming home. And at that time, the Sanders Creek Bridge, probably about a mile from where we lived, was out, and they were doing repairs. They totally blocked it off, and they had built a little temporary bridge, a little one lane made out of wood bridge, and it had a real sharp incline that went up and then across, and a sharp incline down. And again, it was just narrow one lane, and you remember it, I'm sure. And I believe the speed limit was 15 miles an hour across it. Well, anyway, I was coming home and I was zipping along, and and all of a sudden, I'm coming from Arthur City, headed to Chakotah there, and all of a sudden it hits me. The Sanders Creek Bridge is out, and I'm almost there. And so I start kind of to put on my brake, but there's gravel on the road, and I feel the car sliding sideways, and I know, boy, I can't slide into this sideways. That would be really bad. So I just straightened my steering wheel and braced myself, and I hit that little bridge head on. And I remember my car left the ground. It was like the Dukes of Hazzard. If most of you have probably seen the Dukes of Hazzard at some time or other. But I remember my car left the ground, and I can remember the top of my head being pressed against the ceiling. And the car came down on the other side, and it hit the ground so hard that I remember it completely left the ground again when it bounced. It hit, and I could feel it just completely lift the ground, and then it came bouncing to a halt on the other side of the bridge, rolling for a ways. And the engine was dead, wouldn't start, wouldn't do anything. So from there, it's probably, I'm going to guess, maybe a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile up to the house. So I walked up. It was probably 10:30 at night, and Mother and Daddy would normally be in bed, but when I opened the door, they were down on their knees praying. And so I opened the door, and Mother wheeled around. She said, "What happened?" She said, "I told your daddy about 10 minutes ago. We've got to pray for Eddie." So God had prompted their hearts to pray for me at a very critical time. And no doubt there's no telling what their prayers saved me from that night. Maybe death, injury, whatever. And but anyway, I guess I have the bragging rights that I'm probably the only person that ever jumped Sanders Creek in my car. But it was because of prayer.
Yeah.
Because I had praying parents.
Amen.
So praise the Lord. So we thank the Lord for our parents, Clarence and Pearl Hyatt. We've dedicated this program to them today, this program of Revive America, special Christmas program coming to you. And if you have any memories of Clarence and Pearl Hyatt and Shakota Assembly of God, I would love to hear from you. Send me an email or go to my Facebook. I put those 2 pictures that you saw there on my Facebook page. You go there and you can comment there, but I'd love to hear from you. I also wanted to mention about Betty. Betty, you are a businesswoman and you have a business that can help people.
Yeah, Mary Kay's founding was upon God.
Yep.
Her basis was do unto others as you would have them to do unto you. And she put God first in every part of her life. She did things that most people never hear of, because you can't start a business with $5,000. That's just not possible anymore. But anyway, what I wanted to tell you was I got into Mary Kay because I wanted to help people, because I'm a nurse and that was just my habit, I guess. And so one lady I did stood out to me for a long time. It was right after I got started, and she was beaten down. You know, it was kind of abusive marriage and all that kind of stuff. And we did this facial, and it's my goal to make someone feel better than they did when they came in. And so when she got through with the facial, I noticed she kept smiling the whole time, you know. And she said she had never smiled that much in her life. She said, I couldn't stop smiling. And so that's my goal, is to help people feel better about themselves, to bring them out of their shell, whatever. And I was going to tell you that Mary Kay is a good product to maybe get someone for Christmas. We have Christmas sets that we have in our lookbook, and you can see this lookbook on my website. And I think it'll be on the screen sometime during this meeting. And we do free gift wrapping, so just give me a call.
And you do free facials, don't you?
I do free facials by appointment, so you can call me anytime and we'll set up an appointment that's convenient for you.
Amen.
And I appreciate
Thank you. Yes, yeah, thank you. Glad that's a real, not only a work that you do, it's a ministry.
Yes.
Amen.
Yes.
Pete, could we do You're in the Palm of His Hand?
Sure. Does the burdens you carry seem more than your shoulders can bear? You can't seem to find all those fair weather friends who promised they would always be there. You don't have to stumble beneath all the load. The whole world is at God's command. Stars and the planets, He just hung there in space, but you're in the palm of His hand. You're in the palm of His hand, and He fit you into His great master plan. And He's got you right where you want Him, and everything's grand. Don't you know where you are? If He's in your heart, sin's rule of thumb. Sin had you wrapped around his fingers so tight, your whole world was coming undone. Well, God heard you crying, for years he's been trying. He never gives up on a man. You just asked for one touch, but he loved you so much. Now you're in the palm of his hand. You're in the palm of his hand, and he fit you into his great master plan. He's got you right where you want him, and everything's grand. Don't you know where you are? If he's in your heart, you're in the palm of his hand.
Yes, you're in the palm of his hand. Praise the Lord. When we walk in faith and obedience to him, you're in the palm of his hand. We were dedicating this program today to our parents, Clarence and Pearl Hyatt. And you know, one thing I remember, you know, there's a saying that we learn a little bit by what we say, or we teach a little bit by what we say. We teach more by what we do, but we teach most of all by what we are. And you know, one thing I think that I learned from my parents is that God answers prayer. And it wasn't because of anything they said, but I think one of the things that really stands out to me, Pete, and you remember this, of course, Daddy was called into the ministry before I was born, and you know, there was a miracle of healing in your life that kind of launched him into ministry, but then there was another miracle that really got him moving in ministry, and it was in Tipton, Oklahoma, when the Lord spoke to him about pastoring a church. And the pastor did resign, but then the elders and the deacons told him they didn't want him and said, the congregation, we're all in agreement that you're not qualified to be our pastor. So, you know, what do? You feel God's told you to pastor these people, and they've all told you, we're all in agreement, we don't want you to be our pastor. But what I remember is Daddy believed God had spoken to him, so he prayed 3 nights in a row. And God assured him, yes, I want you to pastor these people, so I want you to go through with having an election and everything. So he did, over the objections of, you know, the deacons and elders of this church. And lo and behold, he got voted in 100%. And so I lived through and saw God answer prayer.
Yeah.
Persevering prayer that wouldn't give up. So many precious memories that we could talk about, but let's go off today. Let's sing that chorus again, Precious Memories. We're so glad you joined us today, and may God bring precious memories into your heart and into your mind.
Precious memory, unseen angel, sent from somewhere to my soul. How they linger ever near me, and the sacred past unfold.